Have you been with someone and had an experience with them in the exact same place at the exact same time, but then both of you walked away and had different effects from it? Listen more to find out what we're talking about. My husband and I go out together pretty much all the time. As we're out, we're amongst the same people, we're in the same places, we're pretty much doing the exact same thing. But when we leave, my husband will be fine, doing great, everything's hunky-dory as the term goes with my husband. But with me, I might have a headache, be feeling lethargic and weak, just want to go to bed. I might be saying some non-beneficial words in my head about him. I mean, just all kinds of crazy things. Yes, about my husband. Mm-hmm. It's just all these. Hear this. But the point is, it's. I picked up something from when we were out, and he didn't. That's the whole point. Somehow, I got attachments, possessions, or something, and my husband stayed fine. And I asked him. I said, "Honey, why is it that you're never affected, but I am?" So my conclusion, this is not the end of the video, by the way, so keep watching. My conclusion of this, though,
that's a good one,
is that my husband is able to keep his frequency elevated all the time. Me, on the other hand, my frequency drops, and it drops so quick, and all of a sudden, things affect me. I don't want to know how to keep my frequency elevated, of course, and hopefully we're going to address that in this video for you too, but have you had this experience?
Or where they go with their husband all the time?
No. Where they're with someone, have the exact same experience, but then the effect for each of them is different.
Well, to clarify that, it doesn't happen to you all the time.
Right, it's not all the time,
right.
But it happens frequently.
Well, not as frequently as it used to.
Oh, true.
Right, it's way less frequent now, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it still happens, yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we move forward. And we talked about this. So when you asked the question, why do you think your frequency, how to say, undulates? It goes up and down.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So give us your viewpoint. I love to hear your viewpoints. You always have good ones. I know we talked about
as my
before.
husband and I have discussed, because I still, and I use this term, have not learned to control my emotions. I was told I need to keep myself balanced, which to me in my mind says I have to control my emotions. So something happens and immediately emotions come up, and it's, all right, suppress them, put them down is what I'm usually thinking, calm down, and you know, I've been given tools to use and I use my tools right away, and sometimes it works and a lot of the times it doesn't.
A lot of times it doesn't.
Yes.
Because
I still get emotional.
That doesn't mean the tool doesn't work. The question is, how long does it last? Now, see, you can have a tool, we use the same tool. Mm-hmm. The only thing is that when I use the tool, it has a longer lasting effect than it does on you. Yes. It doesn't mean the tool doesn't work.
So it's not that the tool doesn't work, it's just it doesn't last as long for me, which means I have to implement it more, and I'm still working on this process.
See, so that's a good thing to clarify, right? Mm-hmm. Because people might be like, wait a minute, she's married to him, how comes her emotions still go up and down?
Just because we're married doesn't mean we're the same in any way, shape, or form.
And that doesn't mean that I'm better than you, by the way, because some people might think that.
Oh, right.
That's not what that means. Mm-hmm. We're talking about frequency here. Those are two. That's different from. I mean, nobody's better than a person. If you're on Earth, you're not better than anybody else here.
Right.
So sorry to shatter the feeling or the thought that you think you're better than somebody else. But if you're on Earth, it's because you have karma to balance. Mm-hmm. We all do. Anyway, so let's go back to that, right? About the control the emotions thing. Like you said, you feel like you're supposed to control it, suppress it. And a lot of people probably feel that way. If someone wants to stop smoking, what do they tell them?
They tell them that they need to wear a nicotine patch or do some other kind of treatment in order to be able to stop smoking.
Right? But then they have to get rid of it.
Right.
And that's not, that's not how it works in the spiritual realm. That's not how it works. I told you a story about the Native American Indian chief. Where I asked you to post that in the, I think it's a Project Prosperity chat room, if I remember right, where it was before one of the training sessions, where he was celebrating his birthday. He was already over 100 years old, and this young reporter heard about it, and they assigned him to go interview this chief. And when he got there, he was all excited to meet someone that was over 100 years old, in very good health, did everything for himself, very active, right? And he asked him, Chief, how comes you stay so active and young, and you just, nothing seems to move you? So I don't let anything bother me. And he said, so how do you do that? Does that mean that if someone comes to you and let's say they disagree with you about something, what do you do? He said, well, I just tell them, you're probably right. And then he asked the question, so let's say, for example, I see that you're healthy. So how do you do that? You just avoid things that are not healthy for you and just eat healthy foods? And he looked at him and said, well, you're probably right. And every question he asked, the chief would respond with, you're probably right. What's the point? What's the lesson in that story?
That you're probably right. There's no arguing. Just let people talk and share their beliefs or thoughts with you and let it be.
That's correct.
There's no need to argue or try and give your viewpoint or opinion.
Now, does that mean that you don't care about their opinion?
No.
Why do you say that?
Because you're listening, you're understanding them, even though you might believe differently than them, but there are some individuals who just want to be heard. So just let people speak.
Exactly. Right? One of the biggest lessons I learned years ago is this, that when you learn to discern, it's called discernment, right? So you can discern when somebody genuinely wants to learn from you, when they genuinely want to get your opinion, meaning they're listening to it and they're willing to implement it. And you can discern when someone just wants to be argumentative, or they want to prove a point to you because they believe that you're wrong in whatever it is you're doing or thinking. And when you can discern that, then you know how to deal with that individual. Because if someone is determined to prove to you that you're wrong, do you think they can present anything to them to show them that you're actually right?
No.
Why is
because
that?
they've already got their mind set and they're not really willing to listen, it seems, at that point. They just want to be heard and try and get you to see what they believe.
Exactly. And I like the word you use. They're not listening. They're hearing. So there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? As Jesus said once, he said what? You have ears, but hear not. So you might be talking, they'll ask you a question, well, what do you think about this? Do you believe in this? And especially with the message that the Ascended Masters have us sharing with people, it's different than what people are used to.
Right.
So of course they want to prove us wrong, that what we're saying is wrong. So they'll come and ask you a question, knowing that they've seen your video and they know how you're going to respond. You see, but they would ask you the question anyway. And then as soon as you answer that question the way they expect you to answer it, then they say, well, that's not how I see it. And they start giving you their explanation. Well, the moment they say that, you respect it and then you let it go. Because if they have to come and point that out to you, that means that they're trying to prove to you that what you said in a video, they didn't agree with.
Right.
But now, if you go and respond to their response or their statement, what starts to happen?
An argument.
Got it? All of a sudden now it might not get heated on your side because you're suppressing your emotions.
Doing my best to suppress those emotions.
But as they keep talking and then you keep trying to explain, remember, no matter what you say, they have something else to say.
Right, they always have an answer for it.
So what is going to happen to you after a while?
I'll get frustrated, and my frequency will drop because of the way I behave still at this point in time, and then I'll be affected by something.
Right. But if you listen to them as they talk, you're like, oh, okay. And you start asking them more questions about their beliefs and just let them talk. And when they're finished, it's finished. Then how do you feel at that point? Do you feel that you were arguing with anybody?
No. And they
So-
might even feel really happy that they were able to express everything they wanted to, and who knows what else they'll be thinking, but
from your
hopefully they'll feel good.
From your experience, when you do it that way, how do they normally feel?
They normally feel accomplished.
That's right.
And they usually, all right, that was a good conversation, you know. They feel great.
They always say, it was great. Well, how did they put it? It was great talking. How did?
It was great talking to you.
Right, there you go. And they would say, you're right about that because you're the one doing the talking. That's, we always joke about that, right? Because we know we hardly said a word. They were the ones talking. But then you feel good because you know that, oh, okay, there was no argument. You know where they are. And that's the end of it. And that's the way it should be. That's how you keep your frequency high. You don't engage in useless conversations.
Right.
You don't engage in useless communications. Once you identify something, and you don't have to identify it, the God within you will show you. You decree it long enough, you can identify when someone is trying to put you in that, as they call it, trap. They want to trap you, right? They did it with Jesus all the time. They tried to do that. Well, it's the same thing here. We're not Jesus. We're not saying that. But the Ascended Masters will guide us with that. So you don't have to try to control your emotions. See, let them guide you. Let Jesus guide you. Let Mother Mary guide you, or any of the Ascended Masters. And they will just guide you, especially Saint Germain. He will guide you as to exactly what question to ask and how that conversation should go. So they feel good that they've gotten their point across, that they've won, and then they leave very happy. And you're still friends.
Okay, so now, that's talking with individuals and frequency being lowered because of emotional imbalance at that point in time. But what about when we've gone places and we meet people, it's great, happy conversations, everything is wonderful, but yet still when we leave that place, I'm the one who feels blah, and you're still fine.
When we go and meet individuals in places, who normally has the conversations?
They normally start talking to us.
Right, they start talking to us, but then who has the conversations?
Oh, it's. I know you're trying to get me to say me.
Yeah, because it's you.
Hey, Laura! And then they start talking to me, asking questions. So I ask questions in return. But I don't feel like my energy or my frequency is dropping because
Of course not.
there's nothing happening.
Really?
But we've even been places where I haven't talked to people and we've left and I've had a
But let's go back to the
challenges.
ones where you're talking, and as our kids say, "Mom, why do you
Yeah,
talk
they always
so much?"
say I talk so much. Really, I should just start taking my camera and recording this. Listen, this person's talking to me. Okay, they're asking me more questions. Okay, you guys got it now? Proof.
Now, there are times when
There are times when I can talk.
if somebody just says this,
But-
if someone just asks this, so how are the kids?
They're fine.
I might as well I might as well take the kids and go home and come back the next day because you'll still be talking. Right? Because that's just what you do. The moment somebody asks about the
Depends on
family,
the person.
that's it. You just keep going. So if you're doing that,
Okay, but
okay, no, what I'm saying, if you're doing that, right? If they're asking about the kids,
right.
and then you start talking about the kids, and you're proud of our kids.
Yes.
So then here you are, you start talking about the accomplishments of the kids. What do you think?
Well, there could be negative thoughts coming from them.
Exactly.
Right.
Not could. You leave from there, you have a headache or something. That's exactly what happened.
Right. Negative thought forms.
That's why if someone asks me, how are the kids, what do I say?
They're fine.
Do I say anything else?
No.
No. And then what do I do after that?
You walk away.
No, I don't necessarily walk away. I ask them myself if they have it. I say, "How are your kids doing?" And then they talk. You see? Mm-hmm. Because we want to hear about them. They don't want to hear about. Nobody asks you a question to hear about you. Just always remember that. And you know this.
I do.
Right? People, it's just an automatic question. It's like them asking, "How is the weather? Are you enjoying the weather?" But they don't really want to know that. I don't even know if they hear the answer that you give them. It's one of those canned statements. Mm-hmm. And that's why you literally just ask them the question and they will just keep talking. When somebody's talking, they don't have time to project anything on you because they're happy, because they're talking. And if they're saying something negative, if they're complaining, you know how to turn that off. You change that subject, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you allow them to continue talking the negative things, then of course you will get attachments from them because they're going to, your frequency will get lowered with the sad stories that they're telling.
Right.
So we're not interested in sad stories.
Right.
But if they're telling happy stories, they're projecting good energy on you. That's why we always turn it back to them. We don't want to talk about ourselves at all because the Ascended Masters know about us. That's all we care about. We don't care if people know about us. We don't need that recognition. And our kids don't need it either. They get enough of it. Right? So that's one. The other one is, remember we were on vacation one time, and this gentleman just walked up to me. The guy was, he could hardly walk. He was a lady. Look like maybe he was mentally challenged a little bit. Or maybe we were at a store.
We were at a store,
right.
a local store.
He just came up to me and he called me somebody else's name. Remember that?
Right. He thought you were someone else that he knew.
And the lady looked like it's his caretaker. She said, "No, that's not him." He said, "Yes, it is." He came up to me and said, "Give me a hug." And he just came and before I could move, he just came and hugged me, right? Mm-hmm. This big hug. And the lady's like, "You should not be doing that." I said, it's okay, right? With all the COVID things going on, I wasn't concerned about it, but nothing affected me from there. And you would think somebody else it might. So why didn't it?
Because you keep your frequency high. Bottom line.
Right? But so we just.
But I'm talking about like even when we.
No, hold on. So what I'm saying is, let's say for example that individual had an attachment. Why did I not get the attachment? Because
you keep your frequency high and you keep yourself protected.
So here's the thing. If that person came to you, I don't think you'd do this, but if someone went up, complete stranger went up to someone and hugged them, they'd probably what? Panic. They'd get that feeling of panic, number one, because of social distancing. A lot of people are concerned about that, right?
Current situations.
Exactly. They'd probably panic. The moment they get the feeling of panic or fear, what happens?
Their frequency drops.
Frequency drops. I wasn't panicked about that. Mm-hmm. If he wanted a hug from me, it's because his mighty presence has a connection with me somehow. And that's how I saw that. So I was going to make sure that was taken care of. I want to balance that karma, right? Mm-hmm. If that's all I have to do, balance karma with an individual, then I'm willing to do that. Give him the hug and that's it. So I looked at it as, okay, I'm balancing karma here. I never saw it as something dangerous. So if you're looking at things from that perspective of being fearful, of course, your emotions go up and down, and then of course your frequency goes up and down. One of the things that you do, you still do it, you hardly do it now, but you just used to do it a lot. You go and watch things on YouTube or wherever about all these events going on around the world, especially politics, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to keep an eye on what's happening, just so I know what's taking place.
What do you think happens then?
Oh, the frequency is lowered. I know that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, you're wondering, how can I keep it high? Start following those things, which you've started doing.
Right. Stopped that a while ago.
Or you might be, like one of the things you do every day, let me check the weather. Let me see. And I always ask you, why do you need to do that? Well, I want to know what the temperature is like so I know how to dress. Mm-hmm. Do you know that if you're in tune with your mighty and presence, you don't have to worry about that? Do you ever see me check the weather before I get dressed?
No. How often do you wear something different than what you normally do?
Get the point?
You never wear anything different.
I'm like Matlock.
Indeed.
But the thing is, again, if you let the Ascended Masters guide you, you have nothing to be concerned about because you'll always get the information that you require. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's how you keep it high. Don't get sucked into all this mass consciousness stuff about things on YouTube or in the media, or what the president is doing or not doing, or what some politician is doing or not doing. Whether or not you agree or disagree, does it really matter?
No.
Exactly, because they'll do whatever they need to do to benefit themselves and their party. Whichever party, it doesn't matter. So what do? We church as ambassadors, they guide us as to who to vote for, not because of our preference, but because of their guidance and what is supposed to be accomplished, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't listen to their rhetoric as to what this one is doing or not doing, because we can tell after a while. We know who we can listen to and trust. You know, the media doesn't have to tell us that. And that's how you keep your frequency high. Music you listen to. We had that example where a daughter played a song for you.
Not for me.
Oh, okay.
I happened to hear it because she played it in the kitchen where her siblings were, for her
Right.
siblings to hear.
And for them it was just a funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened? It affected everybody,
It
including
did.
myself.
Yes.
And when you told me what it was, I said, wow. See, so you have to know that certain types of music, they carry certain frequencies. You want to stay away from those things. Movies, right? Horror movies or vampire movies and things.
Even
They-
some action films or
That's correct.
thrillers, suspense movies,
right?
yes.
The frequencies that they generate are not beneficial for a regular individual. So in order to keep your frequency high, you don't waste your time on those things. You know what things you should watch or listen to because you feel good when you watch them or listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that get you disturbed, you stay away from. I hope that helps you. No?
Yes.
No?
No, it helps me.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I still go back to when I don't even talk to anybody in the store and just the checkout person tells me the total and I pay and I leave, but then you're fine and I leave the store and I'm like, what happened?
That's what I'm saying, that you have the individuals there with attachments.
So
and
it's
the
just that I went in with a lower frequency
Exactly.
somehow?
That's correct. Your frequency was already low, or it doesn't have to be low, it's at that same level as the attachment that attached to you. Whatever that level is.
Okay. So I think that my frequency, that means it's low because I'm not protected.
not necessarily
It's not
low.
high enough to keep it away.
Okay, bingo. It's not high enough to keep those attachments away, but that doesn't mean that it's really low. Remember, there's some attachments that operate at mid-level. It's not it doesn't have to be very low.
Okay.
Got it? So as you decree more and then you stay away from those things that affect your frequency a lot, then it will become more stabilized so you could be anywhere and not be affected by those things as often.
Bottom line, I have to decree more. I don't know about you, but I definitely do.
All right?
We'll see you in the next video.
Remember to subscribe and like this video. Join the Facebook group 190 Vision to connect with others on the same journey. Get help by visiting our website 190vision.com. Support the 190 Vision mission by clicking on the donate button, which is at the bottom of each page of our website.